Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Age of Quarantine. I'm your host, Chris Enriquez. Thanks for spending your evening with me. I had to check, it's Tuesday evening. I can't tell what day of the week it is anymore. I just wanted to let you all know that the show has been going great, and we are already on episode 100. We're almost in the 200s. We're in the upper hundreds. I should know the number, but it's in the upper 100s. We're going to start a Patreon soon because the show has been going so well, and we want to start pumping out podcasts and other special things and take it to a whole new level. Some bonus footage, just really cool shit. And it's just been a great way for us to spend time with you and with our favorite artists, and it's totally exceeded our expectations. So anyway, thanks again for your support, everybody. I have a very exciting guest tonight. My guest is an old friend of mine and a fellow drummer. Her name is Angie Boylan. This is her band playing in the background, Freezing Cold, with Jeff from Bridge and Tunnel. Great band. If you haven't checked him out yet, I highly suggest it. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but I'd say if you're a fan of anything from Death Cab for Cutie to to karate, more on like the indie tip, then you might be a fan. Angie is a fantastic drummer. I've known her for years. She has been. Hey, what's up, Andrew? Thanks for the kind words on Total Meltdown. Angie's been a drummer in the Long Island punk scene, and she's been a Brooklynite for a while now, and she has been in bands like Ay Nako. I say it like that because I'm Filipino. That's the Filipino way to say it. But there's a band called Ay Nako, and she was in that band, and she was also in a cool band called Each Other's Mothers back in the day, in a band called Cheeky, and more recently she joined the legendary Sleater Kinney, a band that many of my friends grew up on, and some of my friends even aspired to be like, whether it was vocally, musically, politically, whatever. But they're such a legendary, important band to music, alternative music, to the riot girl scene, to the punk rock scene. The fact that she's in the band is unbelievable to me, and I want to talk about her journey through coming up in the Long Island punk scene and then ending up in such an incredible band. And beyond that, for all of you non-drummers, you might have to sit here and listen to us talk drums. She invited me to be part of this really cool thing called Indie Drummers Collective, which is run by a guy named Aaron Tate from Minus the Bear, and some of the drummers are Tucker Rule from Thursday, Damon from Braid, Zach from Jimmy Eat World, myself, Angie, Jason from Shiner, a lot of really cool drummers, and she's fantastic. She's got really cool content out there. So I am going to try to invite her onto the screen. Yes, Drum Talk, that's the deal. And now I'm going to send Angie, if you're watching, I'm sending you an invite. I'm going to wait for you to accept and join me, and we're going to start talking. Angie!
Hey, Chris, what's up?
Nothing much. I'm, sitting here listening to this band Freezing Cold from Brooklyn. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
You sound great. I feel so bad not realizing that you sang as well in the band, and it's the first time I heard you sing. But you sound fantastic on the record.
Thanks, Chris, and
Absolutely.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm not worthy, man.
Oh yes, you are. But you know what? Modesty will get you further than the opposite of being cocky. I guess is the opposite of being modest. But you're always very modest, and I think that will take. I think that takes people a long way, especially when you have talent. So you're very welcome. That doesn't so anybody that's joining us now that missed my intro, I guess the way it works is now everyone on Angie's channel is just tuning in. This is an episode of Age of Quarantine, a daily web series Monday through Friday on the St. Vitus Bar channel, and we talk to our favorite artists, and we're live. There's a few people watching, so if anyone has comments or questions at some point, I'll try to look down and see what's going on. But first and foremost, Angie, how have you been managing to get through this pandemic?
Well, it's been a wild ride, as it is for everybody, I'm sure. But yeah, so I was actually on tour with Sleater Kinney. We were doing a European tour, and got home. The very next day after I got home, I think I went to my office job that I have here in Brooklyn. And that was the one day I went back to work. And the very next day, like, New York City was on total lockdown.
Oh,
and
yeah.
my office was like shut down. And then I got fired. So
Oh, geez. Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
So
you're working now, though.
yeah, it was like furlough, really.
Okay. Okay.
But it was like several months of that. But yeah, it was just like so wild, be going from like 150 to 0 in a matter of
Right,
days,
right. Because you're playing these huge shows, and then you go home. It's like a fucking rude awakening.
Yeah. So it was really. I don't think I've had that much free time in my entire life.
Did you play a lot of drums during that free time?
Oh yeah. I actually just recently got an electric drum set. So
I bought one of those. They're a little pricey.
yeah, it's fun though. Like, it's a Roland V drums, I think it's called. It's cool. It's like, it's not the same obviously, but for a while there I was kind of afraid to even go to my practice space and even just play alone.
Yeah,
So
there's no ventilation in there.
no.
Yeah.
Windowless rooms,
Welcome to Brooklyn, where you pay an extravagant amount of money to play music, and the place is like a tiny, unventilated room. You can't even get privacy either. You got fucking people making noise everywhere.
Yeah, it's you said it, Chris. I think we might even be in the same building at some times, but anyways, so yeah, the electric drums was life-saving. I also bought a interface, which I have no desire to become a recording engineer, but here we are. It's a good way to
get into that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm terrible at
To
recording,
record the
but
stuff.
but it's just a good way to like keep the band going. Like when I got home from the tour, we had all these plans with my band here, Freezing Cold, and everything just stopped, obviously. But yeah, so we've been doing a lot of like remote recording and stuff like that, sending stuff back and forth to each other.
Yeah, and I guess some people are doing those quarantine performances, and we'll talk about what you're doing with Indie Drummer Collective. Is it Indie Drummers or Indie Drummer Collective?
I think drummer.
It's drummer. Okay, good. I just want to get it straight. I don't want to upset anybody that's part of the organization that might be watching. But so I got that correct. And
it might
obviously,
be Indie Drum Collective.
What's that?
I think it's Indie Drum Collective.
Is it Indie Drum Collective? Okay.
I don't really know.
We got some.
Could be any one of those.
We got some people commenting. At LQ says Angie Boylan is the best drummer. Shout out from West Hempstead.
Yes.
Long Island is in the house. And to those of you watching, I mentioned that Angie and I are both from Long Island, and St. Vitus Bar is also owned and run by mostly Long Island people as well. So we come from a pretty
go back.
Yes, and we come from a pretty cool scene. So you finished the tour before the pandemic happened, but how did it affect your schedule in terms of like other things that were supposed to happen?
Yeah. So Sleater Kinney was so lucky to be able to do that tour. I can't even believe the timing of that. We just just missed the lockdown because we were in Europe and stuff started shutting down there earlier. So it was pretty crazy timing. But then when we got home, I had a bunch of shows booked with Freezing Cold, and the timing was really wild. I don't know what else to say. Just like everything happened so fast, with nobody was prepared for this. But yeah, so I remember like the day before the show, everybody was like, should we still do it? And then like just everything got canceled.
Right. Like we didn't even have a choice anyway. Yeah. It's so weird. I mean, especially when you're a musician for so many reasons, because of tours, and just the collaborative, thing of being in a room recording or rehearsing. I was in the middle of a session when, everyone knew that like some strange shit was going down, but
Yeah.
it was like, when was it? March? It was March
Yeah.
15th, I believe, was like when things really started to get crazy. And then like everyone looked at their phones in the middle of a recording session and realized, that was when we were like, oh my God, are we going to be able to buy toilet paper? Are we going to be able to buy, like, when all that started happening? And we literally put our instruments down. We're like, I think we should stop. I think we should leave.
Wow.
So it's pretty crazy. Well, we started the show obviously because of that. I mean, it's called Age of Quarantine, but we also wanted to use the time to kind of focus on some cool and mostly positive stuff because of all the negative stuff happening out there. I mean, we don't want to neglect that, but I want to talk about your journey up until now, being in Sleater Kinney, which started in Long Island in the punk scene. So let's go back to even before the punk scene, though, when you were just growing up and discovering music. So we'll start there. But what are your earliest memories of just hearing music and realizing that it had an effect on you that was deeper than just, let's say, background noise?
I wish I could go back to that time and pinpoint that moment, but I really don't know exactly. But I will say that my dad was really into music, and he loved like classic rock and like doo-wop and stuff like this. So that was in the house while I was growing up. And I don't know. I don't know what it was. Nobody in my family is a musician. So I was always kind of the weirdo of the family anyway, in many ways. But yeah, I always was playing drums. I didn't have a drum set or anything, just always tapping, always playing along in the car or wherever there was music.
And how old are you when you were doing that?
I for as long as I can remember, Chris. I don't even know, like a little
Really?
kid. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I was a weird kid, man.
No, I mean, look, we all were. I mean, like anybody watching us probably is part of some kind of subculture that is punk or hardcore or metal. So, I mean, I think we're all kind of weird in our own way. I feel the same way. I mean, I was picked on and by jocks, and music was my outlet. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But also, just like you said, like sometimes like there's something natural that just comes over you, and even if you don't remember it, like if you're just tapping along to something, there's something happening. You're just like, there's something happening to you and you don't even know what it is,
Yeah, I don't know. I always loved music, but I do remember one thing that like kind of changed my life, and it's a little bit silly, but I was 12 years old, so I'll tell you. My first concert was like life-changing for me. It was No Doubt on the Tragic Kingdom tour. The Vandals opened for them. And yeah, I remember I got that Tragic Kingdom CD in the 6th grade, and I was just obsessed with that band, man. Like,
yeah, I remember seeing them for the first time on MTV, and people can hate all they want, but the fact of the matter is too, like, No Doubt legitimately came out of the punk rock scene, straight up. You can't even fucking take that away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was cool. I mean, I remember like going to school that day. I was in the 6th grade, and I shouldn't have even went to school that day because I was not there at all. I was so fucking excited for this concert, and I had to beg my parents to let me go. I was, 12 years old. It was at the Nassau Coliseum.
I was about to ask you where it was, and that's awesome. Mine was too, but Metallica. Oh no, Guns N' Roses. But that's fucking awesome.
You're trying to one-up me, huh, Chris?
No, I just say because we're from the same place.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. It makes sense that it would both be at the same place.
Yeah. But I remember my best friend's sister had to like accompany us to the concert. We weren't allowed to go alone. But yeah, that I just remember feeling like so excited, so energized, and like I just had the most fun. I was like, I want to do this,
Yeah, and Gwen Stefani is such an interesting like front person to see if you don't really have exposure to anything alternative at the time. She had her crazy outfits and she was a little out there, and and she's up there rocking out. And you saw the Vandals, so that's who played first, which means that technically the first band that you saw was a legendary punk rock band.
For sure, yeah. And I kind of like knew about some punk bands from my older brother. But yeah, so it was just like a life-changing experience. I remember that to this day. I remember that day like it was yesterday,
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. And we'll geek out sometimes when drummers come up, because we are both drummers, but the drummer in the Vandals was fantastic too. Josh Freese. Yeah. That's cool. You got to see that for your first time. And then when and how did you end up actually like picking up drums? Because you say you're tapping around, right? But when did you actually start playing? Was that before or after punk rock entered your life?
If I had to take a guess, I would think like when I was 12, like maybe around that concert, or like getting that Tragic Kingdom CD.
Yeah.
I started making my own drums in my bedroom, like with pots and pans. I know that this is a common story. A lot of people do this, but I didn't know other people did this. I was just like pretending that I was a drummer in my bedroom, basically, after school. Yeah. And I probably did that for like 2 years, and I was always begging my parents if they would let me get a drum set, I think they thought it was a phase. They were like, they're not familiar with it at all. So,
right.
But I finally got a drum set when I was 14. I think I was probably 14. And I must have had the drum set for maybe like a month and before I joined my first band.
Really? So you joined the band pretty quickly. Did you you were self-taught?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I feel like I learned how to play drums from going to shows. Like I would just single out the drummer, stare at the drummer, watch everything that they were doing.
Right.
Yeah, so
that's and by the way, what town in Long Island are you from again?
West Hempstead.
Okay, because I'm guessing it was either Sam Ash or Guitar Center that you got that.
It was Sam Ash, yeah.
Sam Ash was there you go.
It was like a Pearl Forum series or something.
We have a lot in common that as old friends. I'm just discovering now, because that is also where I got my first stuff, is at that Sam Ash on on Old Country Road.
Old Country Road, that's the one.
Yeah. Let me take some. I'm just gonna read some of the comments, because they're flying by a little bit, and we're getting some good ones here.
Got a lot of No Doubt fans in the room, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. There are No Doubt fans, but I did see. Okay, so somebody was in another country. I thought that was. I always get excited when people are watching from other countries, so I want to find that person and shout them out. Oh yeah, Pammy for Peace. I got your at Pammy for Peace. Greetings from Australia, and we got at August Rose Ruggs is saying yes, no doubt. At MS Max 13, Long Island, yeah. LQ, shout out from Freeport.
LQ also is saying that one time he almost died from a mosh pit at St. Vitus.
That happens. I mean, it does happen. And our good friend and owner of St. Vitus at Confines Worlds is saying Hofstra is in the house, baby. Lots of generations of Hofstra. So then how did you discover, because you started a band and you said you learned how to play going to punk shows, but how did you discover shows? How did you discover punk music? And maybe elaborate on like what those first bands that you saw were, some of the first records, the first shows, etc.
Yeah, so I think first I was really into like all the 90s goodness. Like I could tell you my first CDs were Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill.
Yeah, hell yeah.
No Doubt, obviously. Like Bush, Green Day, Dookie. TLC, Ooh on the TLC Tip, Smashing Pumpkins, like yeah, all the 90s good stuff,
Yeah.
Hole. Yeah, Hole, I think, was the first time I saw a woman playing the drums. Like, it's pretty crazy, but
was that Live Through This or Celebrity Skin?
Live Through This. I'm almost your age, Chris.
I know. No, because I was gonna say, because they had some great drummers. There was obviously Patty Schemmel was great, but Samantha was amazing. I was almost just curious. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I got into all that music first, and then I think my brother kind of got me into punk. So my older brother Chris, he gave me a tape which I still have. It had Operation Ivy, Rancid, and Madball.
Wow, really? Ooh, that's
I don't
funny,
even think he listens to any of those bands, but I didn't expect
you to say Madball.
No, I didn't either.
Oh, it's so funny.
That was my gateway into punk.
You know what? That just shows that you are truly a New Yorker. That somehow answered your life, and you had no choice in the matter.
No, yeah, I don't know.
That's amazing.
I didn't really take the journey with Madball, but I definitely took the journey with Op Ivy and Rancid for sure. But yeah, so also one of my best friends, Diana, you probably know her, Diana Arena.
Of course.
Yeah, she was just into music too, and I think she was kind of like the one who spearheaded like everything for my friend group. She was like, she knew about everything. I don't know how. She was like,
she knew a lot about the hardcore scene. Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, oh, this show's happening. You know, these kids are playing in a band, and she knew everything that was going on, and I just kind of tagged along with her. So I'm very grateful for my friend Diana.
Was that your introduction to the DIY scene, kind of through her indirectly?
Yeah. So when we were in like the 7th grade, there was a venue called Deja One in Mineola. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we went there like every Friday night. And there was a lot of like ska bands at the time. 90s, Long Island was very ska heavy. But it was like ska punk stuff. And then we started getting more into punk, and I remember we always were like sneaking out and taking the train to the city to go to Coney Island High and
hell yeah,
like Brownies and Tramps and all these great places that don't exist anymore. But we saw a lot of punk bands, like the Casualties. We saw a lot, like a lot of like street punk, like Devotchkas. That was another band of women that was rare in my
Devotchka was they were good.
Yeah, so we were into that, and then I don't know, so that was kind of my way into the punk scene. I also was in a punk band, so my first band that I joined like shortly after getting my drum set, I didn't even know how to play, was this band called the Krills.
Okay. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
With the K, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It was a wild time. We just used to show up to shows that were already booked and just get on the stage and play. We weren't even on the show. Like,
that's awesome.
I was just I don't know if it was awesome, but we were like 14 years old.
I love that because everyone has a different story, and I don't like to take away from anyone's story, but like, you know, some people are more like, I had a teacher that taught me how to play drums, and you know, it's not through the punk scene, but I obviously love the punk scene for many reasons. So
yeah,
there's something really cool about like kids. I was just listening to a podcast the other day about the whole kind of like the youth crew scene in New York in the 80s, you know, before our time, where it's like, you know, those records are like 14-year-olds and 16-year-olds, and they were just fucking playing shows. And it's so wild to think about kids doing that. You know, especially at our age, we know kids, like, could you imagine like just like sending a 14-year-old into CBGB's and being like, have fun, we'll see you later? You know what I mean? Or playing.
That's why I was sneaking out, Chris. I wasn't allowed to go.
Yeah. Who were some of the drummers that you found to be pretty influential and inspiring to you when you were getting started?
I think like Trey Cool was probably my favorite drummer at that time.
Okay.
Maybe like definitely Patty Schemmel.
She's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Jimmy Chamberlain. I love the Smashing Pumpkins. Still do.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
But honestly, I really feel like because of my age and like I was just really like impressionable and just like really wrapped up in my friends and all this. I would say that my main influences were like people from the local punk scene, like you, even Chris. I'm not trying to.
I know. Thank you.
Flatter you, but
stop it.
That's. But for real, you're definitely one of the people that influenced me when I was growing up. Remember the band The Insurgent from Long Island? I feel like Justin Sullivan.
Justin Sullivan.
One of my favorites.
I mean, of course I remember those guys.
Yeah.
Did a lot of traveling.
You played with them a lot, yeah. Just like local bands. Justin DeRosa.
Oh, yeah. Of
he
course,
was in a bunch of like screamo bands on Long Island. So, yeah, I went through a lot of music phases like punk, emo, screamo. I don't know, everything. Hardcore.
I mean, that's the Long Island scene in a nutshell, is all that stuff. I mean,
and
we should point out, that we're talking about the late 90s or the mid to late 90s into the early 2000s was like a very specific time period for kind of where we kind of come from, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And then did you, like, when you were playing in bands, did you want to eventually become a professional drummer, or were you just kind of having fun and not really thinking about that?
Even today, I like really don't think about the future very much. I'm always just like in the moment.
Yeah.
I don't really make a lot of plans for the future, but yeah, if I thought I was going to become like a famous rock star or something, I don't think I would be in the DIY punk scene,
I mean, that's true. I always say that, like, this is a niche world. Like, we're in the wrong scene for that.
Right. And I think, to me, like, even take Sleater Kinney out of the equation, like, to me, I've fulfilled like what I wanted to do as a drummer, I mean, sure, the Sleater Kinney thing is fucking amazing and so surreal, but like I never had any goals to become like some famous drummer or anything.
Right. That's what I was kind of wondering. Because, I mean, fame or not, I guess like some people might be like, oh, I just want to make money doing what I do, what I like, what I mean?
No, that's for sure. I mean, when I was younger, I didn't think about stuff like that at all. Now, as I'm getting older, I'm like, well, if I'm going to be able to keep playing, maybe, some money would be nice once in a while. For
sure. I mean, that becomes a struggle. And so you were in the Krills. We're gonna try to speed through a little bit because you were in a lot of bands, and I want to get to Sleater Kinney, and we're already half an hour in. But so I'm just gonna talk about this very briefly. But you were briefly in the owner of St. Vitus's first band, Aeschylus, and I promised I would bring that up. Do you want to just talk about that briefly and how that happened?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, like, I can't even remember all the bands that I was in. I mean, Aeschylus, I think I was in that band for maybe 1 month or something like that. Again, very young. I knew Dave Castillo from Ground Zero, which was this little bar that we had shows on Long Island.
Belmore.
Dave, honestly, I think he probably booked my first show that I ever played.
Oh, wow.
Which was at Ground Zero. So I owe Dave a lot. But yeah, I was in Aeschylus. I didn't even play one show with the band, but I do remember we practiced at Dave's parents' basement.
Nice.
And it was a tiny little basement, and we would just like run through the songs. I remember Dave would be fucking running back and forth, slamming into the walls, screaming his head off and going fucking nuts. I was like, holy shit. I was like, this guy's cool.
That's great.
Yeah, but that
And then
was
what was that? What was next? So it's the Krills and Aeschylus. You know, we got a shout out from Conrad Mata that Each Other's Mothers, which was one of your later bands, was great. Like let's talk about some of the bands leading to where you are now. You were in Cheeky, right?
Cheeky, yeah. So in 2007, I feel like I was in a bunch of bands that it was the first time that my bands were like recording and like putting albums out and touring and stuff. So I remember 2007 as like an important year in my life. But yeah, that's when I was in. Hi, Conrad, by the way. That's when I was in Each Other's Mothers, who we played together a lot. Our bands.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah, Cheeky, and I was in a band called Little Lungs. I was playing guitar.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't even know. I was in like grad school, working and playing in these 3 bands and touring. I don't even know how I did it, but.
Which was the first band that you toured with?
I think all of those 3 bands we were booking tours around the same time, but probably Cheeky was the first to tour, and then Little Lungs, we did the most touring, I think. Like we did like full US tour, and we even went to Australia actually, which is kind of bizarre. On a DIY tour to Australia.
That's unbelievable. Fuck. And you're this is like your first foray into like a punk rock situation of like sleeping in strangers' houses, in the van, all that.
Yeah.
Which is cool because it's almost like, I think you and I might have talked about this briefly. It's like going to college, but like doing that stuff is like going to college, but in the punk rock scene.
Yeah.
Especially when you stick with it and then you end up where you are now, you know?
For sure. I mean, I think of that time very fondly. It was like the best time of my life, you know? I was in bands with all my best friends. We were just traveling the world together, like, well, not really the world, the country. And just like hanging out 24/7 and playing music and meeting new people, going to places you've never been. It was just, it's the best thing in the world, you know?
Getting cultured in so many ways, you know, like places in the United States that are just different from where we are, which is, I think that when you go on tour back then or now, still in negative ways and positive ways, it just opens your eye and you're like, holy shit, it's fucking really different here in like South Dakota. The awareness level of like certain things is just not the same. It makes you realize here in New York that it's never going to be perfect, but like New York is just such an alternate reality from what you see when you're like fucking driving through a random place in the middle of the country, you know?
Yeah. I will say that I was really like, I had an eye-opening experience when I was traveling for the first time, and everywhere I went, people were like, "Oh, are you from Long Island?" And it was the first. I mean, I had a ripping accent, Chris. It was.
I never noticed it before.
Well, I mean, it was the first time I was made aware that I had an accent. I didn't know that I had an accent, you know. But
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so then, what would you say? Because I Nako, which is so funny to me because I'm Filipino and I know what that means.
Right. Yeah.
And I can't not say it. I just said it in like in like an American accent, I guess, but it's hard. It's really I Nako.
I say I Nako, so. Yeah. I don't pronounce it correctly, probably, but
that's something that my parents would say every time something broke or if I did something bad, like an exclamation point. But that was probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, that seems to be like the biggest band that you were in prior to where you're at now, right?
Yeah, for sure. So Ainiko, we started the band in 2010, and I was in it for like 6 years, I think. And during that time, it was the same thing. We were just, you know, punk band playing local shows and not thinking anything of it, booking our own tours and everything. putting our albums out ourselves. And then suddenly, like, we got a review in Pitchfork. And
that's wild.
Yeah, like, you know, I just never would have ever guessed that any of my band, like, I don't think Pitchfork gives a shit about any of my bands, you know?
Yeah,
So,
but that's a big deal. That's like fucking, it's not like,
yeah,
not to downgrade anyone else, but that's like the upper echelon. Like if Pitchfork says you're cool, then people fucking go crazy and they want to find
right.
out.
Well, I learned that quickly. I think we all did, because as soon as we got that Pitchfork article, like, I feel like people started asking us to open for them, and we, you know, a lot more opportunities were coming our way, and then more press was coming in, and so it was pretty exciting. Like, I remember we got flown out to Chicago for some like Lollapalooza thing. It wasn't Lollapalooza. I think it was like an after party or something. But I was like, oh my God. I remember like being like, holy shit, they want to fly us out to Chicago. Like,
that's awesome.
It's just so cool. And I guess when stuff like that starts happening, you're like, huh, like, this is really cool. Like, I want more of this to happen. I want to keep doing stuff like this, you know? So you kind of,
I think that's so special too, when that's happening organically and you're not trying and you're not expecting it, which is kind of cool to hear, like, just like your perspective of like how things, or how you approach things and how things have happened for you. Because I feel like oftentimes, you know, it's like, oh, we got a review in Pitchfork because our publicist got it for us. But in this case, that's not the case. It's all organic. That's really cool. I'm going to guess that you're also a really patient, either you just love what you do, or you're just a really patient person. I can't necessarily say that I'm the same way, which is why I'm kind of like, almost like, wow, that's awesome. Like, I've always been like a very impatient, like, I need to get here, from here to there, for better or for worse. You know, that's kind of been my whole thing. But in a way, that can also set you up for a disaster, because if you don't get what you want, then you can be upset. So I think you're, you know, the way that things have happened for you is super, super, super cool to just hear about. We also wanted to mention that I don't know if there's anything on Each Other's Mothers out there, but as someone that was around there for that, is there anything online anywhere? Because that was one of your bands that was fantastic.
You know, we didn't have like access to recording the way that we do now. I don't know. We only ever recorded 3 songs. We probably had like 50 songs, but there's 3 and they're on Bandcamp.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on, because believe me, as you know, we're already 40 minutes in, and the 20 minutes will go quick. And I feel like we've barely gotten into like the crazy stuff I want to talk about. But tell me, so you parted ways with Einiko, and then you ended up with Freezing Cold. I don't know if I'm skipping anything, and then Sleater Kinney. So maybe walk me through that. I'm going to try to kind of like push along a little bit.
Yeah, so Freezing Cold, I left Einiko in 2016 or so, and I wasn't in a band for like a year, and it was the first time like in my life that I was not in a band. Really weird, but I had some family stuff going on, so I needed to take a break anyway.
Yeah.
So Jeff, my friend Jeff, he's an old friend of mine, also from Long Island.
And he was in Bridge and Tunnel, the band.
Yeah. He was living in Philly for like several years, and he had just decided to move back to New York, and he like reached out to me, and I was like, oh, we should play music together. So that's kind of how Freezing Cold started. And
good name. Good band name.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we just literally picked it for no reason.
I mean, it's like simple, and you're not going to forget it. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's tough picking a band name.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but anyway, as you were saying, so you and Jeff were like, we're buds. You're moving back here. You know, his band, Bridge and Tunnel, broke up, I guess, at that time.
Yeah. So we started a band. We asked our friend Nick Rice, who was in the band Weedhounds, to play bass.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just wanted to do something fun, like keep playing, and we just didn't want to stop playing in bands. So.
Hell yeah. It's a weird thing when you stop playing in bands when you've been doing it that long. I've been there.
Yeah.
It seems like refreshing for a second if you're doing it by choice, and then it starts to get weird, kind of depressing, because it's, you know.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty weird to like go from Inaco, and you know, we had somewhat of this popularity, and then like starting I was like, I don't even, you know, I have some insecurities about getting older and being like, none of my friends even come to shows anymore. Like, you know, it's just kind of like
It's
hard
totally
to
normal.
restart. It's hard to start over at like 30, whatever, however old I was.
Yeah,
33
yeah.
or something.
I think that's a very common thing. I went through the same exact thing myself. You're like, should I keep doing this? Is this ridiculous?
Yeah.
Is it weird that
I've had all those questions, Chris.
You know what I got to say though is that, like, I think you and I are both. I'm not whatever. I guess I'm patting us both on the back right now. But it's so strange to kind of like think that. I'm sure you've thought about this yourself, and then realize that some of the most exciting things that you ended up doing were after 35.
Right, I know.
Which is fucking awesome. It's like it just totally proves that theory wrong. It doesn't. Anytime someone gets down on their age now, I'm like, you have no idea. Like, I'm not saying anything's guaranteed, but if you just do what you like, and
keep
enjoy
doing it.
Keep doing it, because some shit could happen when you're 37 or 38. You know what I mean? But so Freezing Cold, I was mentioning this earlier. It's kind of got like, it's an indie rock band, but I think that the word indie rock is such a strange term now because it means anything. To me, I hear some Death Cab. I hear some Karate. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Ida, but you and Jeff singing together, that was like an acoustic.
Oh, wow.
It's an acoustic male-female duo from New York that was very popular in the 90s. I kind of heard that a little bit in your guys' pairing of vocals.
Cool.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that band a little bit, and then there's some music videos out there people could watch, and then how this Sleater Kinney thing happened at the same time.
Yeah. So I don't know how to describe our genre. I hate that question. I would also say indie rock, but I don't even know what that means.
It doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah. But I will say that I want the band to sound like the Smashing Pumpkins.
Okay.
Jeff wants it to sound like Y Oak. And we have a new bass player now. Her name's Leanne. She's fucking sick guitar player, sick bass player. She, I think, wants the band to sound like Sonic Youth. So it's a really wild mesh of influences. But you're right. Jeff definitely is a big Death Cab for Cutie fan, and I hear a lot of that in his vocal patterns and stuff.
I hear that in Karate coming out of him a little bit.
Karate, I haven't listened. I definitely heard that band when I was younger, but I'm not super familiar with them.
No,
but
shit.
I'm gonna check it
You're
out.
Look, some of the stuff that you do reminds me of that band.
Yeah,
like the way that you play.
Cool.
Yeah. But no, that's cool. I love that. That's a great mixture of like it's all good stuff. Sonic Youth, Smashing Pumpkins. I love that. I guess the 90s is kind of tying it together too.
Yeah. So I don't know. We just have fun, get together, and see what happens.
Right.
But yeah, actually, Freezing Cold, we had our first album coming out, and right before it came out, we were just in the process of working with the label and getting everything ready to go. And that's when I was approached by Sleater Kinney. And so
wow,
it was pretty crazy timing for Freezing Cold, but obviously they understood that.
Of course.
Yes,
And that album, by the way, is Glimmer, and it's on all streaming. Everyone check out Glimmer. Came out in 2019. Yeah. So then, how Sleater Kinney? How did they find you?
I'm still wondering how this all happened, but no, I can tell you how they found me. So I have a very good friend from playing basement shows in New Brunswick. Her name is Marissa Paternoster.
Okay.
From the Screaming Females.
Yeah, great band.
Yeah, amazing, the best. So she is a very loyal friend, and she she knew she's basically friends with Corin's husband.
Okay.
And so she recommended me to him when they needed a drummer. And she didn't tell me that she was doing that. I had no idea that this was happening whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got a random email one day and I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, it's got to be Marissa.
Did she show her like a video or play music for her? Like,
did Marissa show them?
Yeah, to be like,
so they reached out to me and asked me for drum videos.
Okay.
And I'm very like unprofessional. You should have seen me like looking for these drum videos. It was like, I was like asking my partner, do you have any videos on your iPhone of like 10-second clips? Yeah. Like it was, I don't even know what the hell I sent them, but it was not professional.
and they whatever you did send them, they watched it and then they contacted you right away?
Yeah. I don't remember exactly the timeline, but I do remember it was very fast. Like I got an email from their management asking me if I could come out to Portland for an audition. And Chris, I don't even know what to say. I was
fucking, like losing your shit?
Yeah, I was actually at work. I was at my job and I work with one of my best friends and I was just like losing my mind. And she was like, dude, you gotta just leave. So I just left work in the middle of the day. And I was like, oh my God. I went to my practice space. I think somebody who I share the room with was in the room and I was like, you have to leave.
Wow.
Like, he was practicing and I was like, you gotta leave. I need to practice.
It's like it's really like winning the lottery. It feels like in a way, like.
Yeah, I still can't even believe it. It's just mind blowing to me. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought anything. You know, actually, I remember seeing on Insta because I follow Janet Weiss on Instagram. And I remember seeing her post the day that she announced that she was leaving the band.
Whoa.
And I was just like, holy shit. I just was so blown away. But I never was like, oh, let me reach out to them and like, I'm going to be the, like.
No, it's crazy.
I wasn't like, I'm going to be
the
next drum.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's literally like fucking going through your 90s CD collection and being like, oh, I'm just going to join Hole now. Or I'm just gonna go join fucking whatever band.
No way.
You know, that's crazy.
It's
so
unbelievable. I grew up listening to Sleater Kinney.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I grew up listening to them, and I actually was even in a Sleater Kinney cover band once. So
you're kidding me?
It's unbelievable. You know, like, yeah, you remember in Brooklyn we used to do these shows, the anti-Valentine's Day Riot Girl cover shows.
I remember hearing about it. But, you know, you answered my next question, and so I guess you actually were a pretty big fan. That's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. It's like, so, I mean,
yeah. No, I was gonna say the email that you got, and the email that you got, was it just like, we want you to fly out and audition, learn these songs, and then. You know, so maybe talk about the audition process, like if you can, like anything you can share, like what was that whole vibe like? They flew you out, you showed up, like what was the deal?
Yeah, so I think I had like 2 days or something like this to learn. I think they gave me 4 songs to learn for the audition. And I think one or two of them might have been like from the new record, which wasn't even out yet. So it was very nerve-wracking. But so I got flown out. Chris, I can't even tell you the level of nervousness that I don't even think there's a way to describe how fucking nervous I was.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
And I don't really ever have I don't struggle with anxiety in my life on the regular or panic attacks, but yeah, this was some next level anxiety.
I'm glad to hear that, by the way. Yeah, because it's like, that is a tough thing. It probably would have made it worse. I mean,
yeah. But I will say, then I was so nervous to go and to like get there and show up. But as soon as I got there and I'm like sitting behind the drum set and I'm like, oh, I'm at band practice. Like this is what I do. Like, I just felt totally normal when I sat down behind the drums, you know?
Is it like a pretty normal practice space that you were in, or was it like a fancy room?
I think I thought it was going to be some fancy studio or something, but it was just in Carrie's basement. So I was like, oh, this is familiar. Like, back to the basement, you know?
Did you have like the pressure of like I've done things where like you try out for some band and there's like the managers in the room and there's like all these people. Like, was it like that, or was
No.
it wasn't like that?
No, actually, it just felt like band practice. And then there was a moment where, like, I think they were all like, oh, we're going to just go upstairs and talk for a minute or something. And then I was like, oh, shit, like, this is an audition. They're going to either, like, tell me to leave now or what. But, yeah, so they flew me out. I don't remember what day it was. Let's say it was Monday or something. And I had a return flight home on Wednesday.
Okay.
So I was there for one day. And so I did the audition, and they came back down and they were like, okay, we need you to cancel that flight home. Like, we need you to stay another 2 weeks. And I was like,
wow.
I was like, I had a full blown panic attack in that moment, because I don't think I think just like going to Portland and auditioning, I was like, that's enough for me. Like,
Let's think somebody's paying for your flight and your hotel. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, that's the coolest fucking thing in the world. I can't even believe I'm doing this. But I didn't think a step ahead of that. I didn't think there was not even a thought in my mind that they would ask me to do it. So I was really thrown for a loop. And I only brought one pair of underwear, so I was really kind
of when they told you that to like stay, did you do a good job of like trying to conceal your excitement, or were you like visibly like kind of just exuding you know,
I don't think I could even call it excitement, because I was so unprepared for that moment that I was like, I can't stay. Like, I gotta go home. I have a job. Like,
right. There's that. Yeah.
But I just had to like up and quit my job. Thank you to
right,
my job for being cool about that.
That's fucking unbelievable. This is one of the coolest stories I've ever heard of like anybody on the show or a friend of mine, because you know, I could say you're the first person in like whatever episode we're on right now, which I should know. It's like 150 something or 100. We're up there. You would be the first to like have had one of those things where it's just like, oh, like a band that I grew up listening to, you know, hit me up and said, you're in the band now. That's like shit they make movies about, you know what I mean? Which is awesome.
Crazy. It's very surreal.
What are your favorite Sleater Kinney songs to play?
There's a lot, but definitely all the songs that I grew up listening, like when we played Dig Me Out or like Ironclad, or like, any of the old songs that I grew up on, like it's so surreal. I can't even believe that I'm up there playing that, you know?
Right.
But Janet Weiss is like one of the best drummers of all time, one of my favorite drummers, and like I just fucking love her drumming, and so it's a real joy to play the songs, you know.
They've always been a unique band. Sleater Kinney never sounded like anybody. The first time I heard Sleater Kinney, there was no band I could think of to be like, oh, it sounds like that, you know. And there's, you know, there's tons of great bands that do sound like other bands, but they definitely were a very unique band, still are. I'm asking a selfish question because I'm a dork about drumming stuff, but are you playing with in-ear monitors? Is that what you're doing with the quick track?
Yeah, so actually the first show that I played with Sleater Kinney, not only was I losing my fucking minds because I was so nervous, but I had these in-ear monitors. I never experienced this in my life, and I was bugging out, but I got through it.
But are you playing to a metronome when you're playing with them the whole time?
No. So I really don't do that. But
I wasn't sure if you had to, if that was like a thing. Yeah.
Maybe it should be, but I just don't. I did it on these last tours, but what I do have is like a metro, like I have an app on the iPad, and I do a reference of the tempo right before I click in.
Okay, cool.
But I don't have it going through the whole time.
Let's talk. Well, we have 5 minutes left tonight, so we were nervous that we were going to have to fill up time. We actually filled up a lot of time. I barely got to some of the other questions, but I skipped around to the important stuff. Let's give a shout out to the. That's good. Yeah. Let's talk about the Indie Drummers Collective. Let me get it right. I mean, we should really get it right. I don't want to fuck up what I'm calling here, because there's a hashtag for it, Angie, right? And if people use the hashtag, I'm just looking it up right now, then they'll find the videos of the Indie Drummer Collective folks, including yourself, which you just did a cover. While I find the correct name of that, actually, here it is. We might hear you drumming. It's hashtag Indie Drummer Collective. Why don't you talk about what that is and what you have going on, because you have a Stevie Wonder cover online and some other stuff coming up. We should give them a shout out.
Yeah. So my friend Jeff from the bands Lepesh and Small Brown Bike, he invited me to this, and I guess it's just like a group of him and his friends. Jason from the Casket Lottery, he's also in the group. He was actually the production manager for Sleater Kinney on one of the tours that we did, so I know him too. And yeah, it's just their friend group, and I got invited, but they choose like a theme once a month, and then all the drummers pick a song within that theme and do a drum cover, post it on Instagram. It's cool. It's a good way to stay motivated and like have a fun project that you're working on with a group, and it's just like a positive experience, you know?
And you're in it too. Thank you for inviting me. And Jeff is a fantastic drummer. He's one of the best from Lepesh and Small Brown Bike. I love that guy. Like I said, you have a recent cover up of Stevie Wonder's Sugar, which is part of the theme, which was 70s R&B and funk. And then I guess we'll shout out some other drummers who are partaking in that. You got folks from Burning Airlines and Christie Front Drive and Thursday and Jimmy Eat World, Band of Horses, lots of great drummers. And basically, I guess if you just put in the hashtag Indie Drummer Collective, that's singular, Indie Drummer Collective, these videos should pop up, and there'll be a bunch of them coming up more in October and moving forward. Anything you want to mention? We have 2 minutes left before the Instagram. So Instagram, I forgot to mention, actually kicks you off automatically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're not going to dilly-dally here.
No. So any like shout outs, announcements, or literally anything you want to say to anybody out there before we get kicked off?
I guess I would say thank you to Marissa, my friend, who recommended me to Sleater Kinney. That was really something else, Marissa. I don't know. Thanks to everybody who's here, paying attention and being a part of the conversation.
Absolutely. And obviously, right after this is over, the debates are about to happen. And let's just say vote in November and fucking just do the right thing, because shit is so fucked up right now. And we need to fucking change the shit. Let's do some socials really quick before we get kicked off. What is it, at Angie Boylan? That's where you're at right now.
Angie _ Boylan.
Okay, and then is it at Freezing Cold is the band's Instagram, or is there anything like an underscore?
Freezing Cold Band.
At Freezing Cold Band. Glimmer is out right now. You can check it out online or buy it. You should buy it on Bandcamp on Friday, because they're waiving some fees, I think, is what's going on. So if you want to really support artists, you should buy Glimmer by Freezing Cold on Bandcamp on Friday. Can you tell I've done this before, Angie? I promote bands for.
You're a pro, Chris. You're a real pro.
I want to thank you. You're one of my favorite people, and one of my favorite drummers, and I can't wait to see you in person one day. We should try to do a social distance hang, and maybe we could set up some drums and start doing some drum shit. But yeah, that's all. That's it. This has been an episode of Age of Quarantine. If you tuned in too late or in the middle of it and you want to watch the whole thing, in about 5 minutes, the whole thing will be streaming on the St. Vitus Bar IGTV. And it'll be on my YouTube channel, which is if you just look up Christopher Enriquez on YouTube, there's a fucking bunch of episodes of this up there. And yeah, that's it. Keep it real. Keep up the PMA. And you keep drumming, Angie. Keep doing your thing.
Chris.
Yeah.
Keep the dream alive.
That's right. That's right. I want to see you on that big stage. I want to be in the audience and be like, I knew that girl. I played a bassman with that girl. Oh, man.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate it.
All right. Take care, everybody. Long Island represent.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Bye.